Good afternoon, everyone. This is the news with b.c.begley. I am your host, yours truly, and it's Monday, December the 8th, 2025. I hope everybody had a great weekend, and now let's jump right into the top news stories for today. Russia has recently accelerated its territorial gains in Ukraine, seizing about 200 square miles in November, one of the fastest advances since the war began. Western leaders, including Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, UK's Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, French President Emmanuel Macron, and German Prime Minister Friedrich Merz are meeting for emergency talks amid concerns over weakening support for Kyiv. European officials insist Ukraine is not close to collapse, but warn that long-term backing is essential if peace talks fail. Meanwhile, Russian advances in the Donbass region risk shaping negotiations in Moscow's favor, as proposals linked to the Trump administration involve Ukraine giving up significant land, The Telegraph has reported. Confusion over peace prospects has intensified despite claims that a deal is close, prompting fears in Europe that Ukraine could be sidelined in the U.S.-led peace process. About 210,000 INIU portable lithium-ion power banks sold on Amazon have been recalled due to risks of overheating, fires, and burn injuries. The recalled units are model B.c.begley, sold between August 2021 and April of 2022, and include serial numbers 000G21, 000H21, 000I21, and 000L21. At least 15 overheating incidents have been reported, including 11 fires that caused minor injuries and property damage. Consumers are urged to stop using the product immediately and register for a refund through INIU's recall website, CBS News has reported. Authorities warn that lithium-ion batteries must be handled and disposed of properly due to their fire risks. The top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee, Representative Adam Smith, alleges that surveillance video of a U.S. military strike on a suspected drug trafficking vessel contradicts claims made by the U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and other Republicans. Smith, who has viewed the footage, said the surviving individuals were unarmed, stranded, and unable to fight, disputing assertions that they were attempting to recover drugs or re-engage. He argued the administration is reluctant to release the video because it would undermine its justification for the second strike. Republicans, including Senator Tom Cotton and Senator Eric Schmidt, defended the operation's legality, saying drug cartels are legitimate targets, ABC News has reported. Democrats are pushing for the video and a related legal memo to be released amid concerns over whether the administration exceeded its authority. President Donald Trump released a national security blueprint that asserts U.S. dominance in the Western Hemisphere and reasserts the Monroe Doctrine to restore American power. The strategy argues that keeping the region, quote, reasonably stable and free from foreign influence is essential to U.S. security. It seeks to enlist and expand partnerships, working with established allies to combat migration, drug trafficking, and security threats, while building new alliances that view the United States as their primary partner. The document also calls for rethinking U.S. military and naval presence in the region to better control sea routes and counter illegal activity, Fox News has reported. Overall, the plan aims to limit outside powers' influence, strengthen regional economies, and reinforce America's preeminence in the Western Hemisphere. Overnight snowfall brought slick roads and slushy sidewalks to Chicago and parts of northwest Indiana, pushing the city's seasonal total to more than 17 inches, the fastest accumulation since 1978. Crews worked early, with more than 200 city plow trucks clearing the streets before most of the residents even woke up. Workers like Eric Soto were called in overnight to clear walkways, while parking lots and neighborhoods and major roadways saw steady cleanup efforts. The snow caused travel disruptions, including a ground stop at O'Hare, and at least one crash near Terminal 2, CBS News has reported. Though the snowfall ended, frigid temperatures are expected to continue, with lows dropping into the teens on Sunday evening. This year's Pearl Harbor Remembrance marks a historic first. None of the 12 remaining survivors are able to attend the ceremony in Hawaii, ending the era of first-hand witnesses at the event. The attack back in 1941 killed over 2,300 troops and drew the United States into World War II, and while survivors have long been central to the commemorations, their numbers have dwindled from thousands to just a few dozen and now just a dozen in recent decades. Efforts to preserve their stories have expanded, including nearly 800 oral histories recorded by the National Park Service and over 500 collections held by the Library of Congress. Organizations like the Sons and Daughters of Pearl Harbor Survivors continue to share family stories in schools, parades, and public presentations, CNN has reported. As eyewitnesses disappear, descendants and historical projects are increasingly responsible for keeping the memory and the lessons of Pearl Harbor alive. West African troops were deployed to Benin on Sunday following an attempted coup by a group of soldiers who attacked state institutions and briefly seized state television. The president, Patrice Talon, said the situation was, quote, totally under control after loyalist forces regained control, while ECOWAS sent forces from Ghana, Ivory Coast, and Nigeria and Sierra Leone to support the government. The mutinying soldiers, calling themselves the Military Committee for Refoundation, announced the removal of Talon and all state institutions and then appointed a lieutenant colonel as their leader. Nigerian fighter jets also helped dislodge the coup plotters from key locations at the request of Benin's government, The Guardian has reported. The attempt comes ahead of April's presidential election and amid growing regional instability, with jihadist attacks and recent coups in neighboring West African countries. A magnitude 7.0 earthquake struck a remote area near the Alaska-Yukon border on Saturday, with no tsunami warning issued and no immediate reports of damage or injuries. The USGS reported the earthquake occurred about 230 miles northwest of Juneau, Alaska, and 155 miles west of Whitehorse, Yukon, at a depth of roughly 6 miles. Residents in Whitehorse reported feeling the tremor, with minor items falling off the shelves, but seismologists said there was no structural damage. The closest communities to the epicenter were Haines Junction, Yukon, and Yakutat, Alaska, The Guardian has reported. Multiple smaller aftershocks followed the initial earthquake in the sparsely populated mountainous region. The Kremlin praised President Donald Trump's new national security strategy, calling it aligned with Russian thinking and welcoming its emphasis on dialogue and improved U.S.-Russia relations. The announcement comes as U.S. efforts to broker a peace deal in Ukraine center at a critical phase, with talks in Florida and an upcoming meeting in London between Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, European leaders, and U.S. officials. Zelensky emphasized Ukraine's commitment to peace, but highlighted concerns over security guarantees if territorial concessions were made, while President Trump's team remains divided between positions sympathetic to Kyiv and those more favorable to Russia. The conflict continues to devastate Ukraine, with recent Russian drone and missile attacks targeting energy infrastructure, leaving key cities without power and water, The Guardian has reported. Analysts warn of a harsh winter ahead as exhaustion sets in and Zelensky faces political pressure amid ongoing corruption investigations. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent confirmed that he did sell his soybean farm last week, fulfilling an ethics agreement upon taking office, while emphasizing that U.S. farmers still need federal support despite a trade deal with China. Bessent highlighted that certainty for farmers depends on long-term purchase agreements, noting that the October deal with China has resumed soybean imports after months of halted purchases. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins said the government will provide a short-term bridge payment to support farmers as trade deals are finalized. Bessent argued that Chinese actions during trade negotiations treated U.S. soybean farmers as pawns, making the temporary aid necessary to finance next year's planting, Axios has reported. He also downplayed inflation concerns, claiming real incomes are rising and tariffs are not driving affordability issues, though details on the farm aid remain unclear. The interstellar comet 3I Atlas, the third known object from outside our solar system, is departing the inner solar system after months of high-speed travel at roughly 130,000 miles per hour. Discovered in June and confirmed in July, It made close approaches to Mars and the Sun back in October and will pass about 170 million miles from Earth on December the 19th. NASA's Hubble Space Telescope and ESA's JUICE orbiter have captured the clearest images yet, revealing a bright, active coma and multiple tails of gas and dust. While Hubble observed the comet from 178 million miles away, JUICE got much closer, at just 41 million miles away, providing unprecedented detail, though the full scientific data from its instruments still will not be available until February of 2026, Live Science reported. Observations from space telescopes, orbiters, and even Earth-based observatories continue to offer insights into this mysterious interstellar visitor as it leaves the solar system. A federal judge has temporarily blocked prosecutors from accessing materials from James Comey's ally Daniel Richman, complicating the ongoing criminal case against the former FBI director. Richman, a Columbia law professor and Comey confidant, sued in November, alleging the government unlawfully searched his computer to support claims that Comey lied to Congress about authorizing the leaks. The judge ruled that the warrantless search likely violated Richman's Fourth Amendment rights and then blocked access to the files until December the 12th. Comey has denied wrongdoing, and prior charges against him were dismissed due to improper appointment of the prosecutor, though a re-indictment is expected, The Guardian has reported. The ruling comes amid broader prosecutorial setbacks in the Eastern District of Virginia, including a failed attempt to indict New York Attorney General Letitia James. All right, here's a look at the live weather radar from the National Weather Service. And now let's get into our national weather forecast for today. A prolonged atmospheric river is expected to bring several days of heavy rain to the Pacific Northwest, increasing today and continuing through midweek. Flood watches are in place and flash flooding is possible as moisture moves inland across Washington and Oregon. Gusty winds will also affect the Pacific Northwest, the Northern Rockies, and the Northern Plains as a strong weather system develops and moves east. Snow and freezing rain are likely from eastern North Dakota to western Minnesota, where a winter storm watch has been issued. Farther southeast, snowfall forecasts have increased, with a winter storm warning for south central Virginia, including Richmond, where 3 to 5 inches are expected today. Thailand launched airstrikes along its disputed border with Cambodia after both countries accused each other of firing first. The clash threatens a U.S.-brokered ceasefire from October, which followed deadly fighting back in July. Thailand said that Cambodian forces opened fire, killing one Thai soldier, prompting airstrikes, while Cambodia claimed that Thailand initiated the conflict. Civilians near the border fled and schools closed as tensions escalated, NBC News has reported. The dispute stems from long-standing territorial disagreements dating back to colonial-era maps and remains unresolved despite the ceasefire. A 31-year-old man was arrested on Sunday after a robbery at Heathrow Airport in which 21 people, including a young child, were pepper sprayed. Police said a woman's suitcase was stolen inside a parking garage elevator by 4 men who sprayed an irritant, affecting people nearby. Authorities believe the suspects and victim knew each other and said that the incident was not terrorism-related, but rather an argument that escalated. Ambulance crews treated victims at the scene, with 5 taken to the hospital for non-life-threatening injuries, Fox News has reported. The incident caused travel delays at the airport, though operations later returned back to normal. New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani posted a video explaining to immigrants their rights and interactions with ICE following a recent raid in Manhattan. He said immigrants have the right to remain silent, record agents, and deny entry to private spaces unless officers have a judicial warrant. Mamdani emphasized that ICE agents can legally lie, and people may continually ask if they are free to leave. His message followed public demonstrations after ICE attempted detentions near Chinatown, ABC News has reported. Mamdani pledged that New York will protect and support its immigrant community as he prepares to take office. A busted pipe at the Louvre in Paris last week caused flooding that damaged 300 to 400 works in the museum's Egyptian Antiquities Library, including books and periodicals used by researchers. Staff are working to dry and preserve the affected items, some of which date back to the 19th century. The damaged area is scheduled for a major ventilation and heating system renovation starting in September. This incident comes shortly after a high-profile jewelry heist back in October in which thieves stole 8 of France's crown jewels, valued at around €88 million, NBC News has reported. Several suspects, including 4 men and 1 woman, have all been arrested and charged in connection with the robbery. Japan on Monday accused Chinese military aircraft of locking radar onto its fighter jets near Okinawa, while denying Beijing's claims of Japanese interference. Japanese officials said the F-15 jets maintained a safe distance during the incidents, which lasted a few minutes in the afternoon and about 30 minutes in the evening, and no Japanese airspace was violated. China defended its actions, calling the exercises pre-announced, and accusing Japan of harassment, while Japan lodged a formal protest and demanded preventive measures. The incident has highlighted security concerns amid worsening Japan-China relations, following comments by Japan's new prime minister on Taiwan, prompting Japan and Australia to strengthen military coordination, the AP has reported. Separately, China reportedly fired flares at a Philippine fisheries plane in the South China Sea, reflecting broader regional tensions. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the first phase of the UN-backed Gaza ceasefire is nearly complete, emphasizing the next phase must include Hamas's disarmament. He plans to discuss the second phase later this month with U.S. President Donald Trump, whose proposals formed the basis of the UN Security Council Resolution 2803. During the first phase, Hamas released the last Israeli hostages in exchange for Palestinian detainees, while Israeli forces withdrew to a ceasefire line controlling 58% of Gaza. Netanyahu stressed alternatives to the proposed International Stabilization Force and reiterated opposition to a Palestinian state, leaving the sequencing of future steps unclear, The Guardian has reported. His remarks came during a joint press conference with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, who said a visit by Netanyahu to Germany is not currently under consideration due to ICC arrest warrants against him. At least 25 people, including several tourists, were killed in a nightclub fire in Goa, India, caused by a gas cylinder explosion, officials have said. Most of the victims were kitchen staff, while 6 others were injured and are in stable condition. The club's narrow entry and exit delayed firefighting efforts, trapping some patrons and staff during the blaze. Authorities noted the club had previously received a demolition notice for lacking a construction permit, but it was not enforced, prompting a government inquiry into compliance with fire and building regulations, NPR has reported. Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed condolences and confirmed the state is providing assistance, highlighting ongoing safety concerns in India regarding gas cylinder accidents. The U.S. Department of Transportation has waived the final $11 million of a $35 million civil penalty against Southwest Airlines for massive flight cancellations during a 2022 winter storm. The airline had canceled 17,000 flights, stranding over 2 million passengers, and was initially fined for failing to assist travelers. Southwest had already made $24 million in payments, and the waiver reflects the company's significant improvements in on-time performance and investments in network operations. The DOT said the move benefits the public by encouraging airlines to enhance operational resilience rather than simply just paying fines, NBC News has reported. Southwest praised the decision, highlighting its successful operational turnaround and improved customer service. A video has gone viral showing Zhao Tongyang, CEO of Chinese robotics startup Engine AI, being kicked to the ground by the company's T-800 humanoid robot. The stunt was staged to counter claims that previous videos of the robot were CGI. The T-800, developed in Shenzhen province, delivered a front kick to Zhao, who wore protective gear and was unharmed. The demonstration aimed to showcase the robot's real-world stability, balance, and mechanical strength, CNN has reported. The footage has sparked widespread discussion across news and social media platforms. SpaceX launched 29 new Starlink satellites on December the 7th from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. The Falcon 9 rocket lifted off at 12:58 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and reached low Earth orbit about 9 minutes later, with the satellites deployed roughly an hour after the launch. The rocket's first stage, B-1088, completed its 12th flight and landed on the drone ship Of Course I Still Love You, which was in the Pacific Ocean. This launch brings the Starlink constellation to over 9,100 operational satellites, providing internet to underserved areas and supporting in-flight Wi-Fi and mobile connections, Space.com has reported. It marks SpaceX's 115th Starlink launch and 157th Falcon 9 flight of the year. Today is December the 8th, 2025, and on this day in history, in the year 1941, the United States Congress declared war on Japan, bringing the U.S. officially into World War II. In the year 1980, musician John Lennon, formerly of the Beatles, was shot and killed outside his New York City apartment. And in the year 1991, the Belavisa Accords were signed, leading to the dissolution of the Soviet Union and the creation of the Commonwealth of Independent States of Russia. December the 8th is also National Brownie Day. Okay, it's 21 past the hour, almost 22 past the hour, and let's do a quick market update. Gold is down 0.20% today. Oil is also down 1.68% today. Bitcoin also down 0.14% today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is also down 0.31%. The S&P 500, you guessed it, down again 0.30%. And the NASDAQ is also down 0.29%. The markets are down all across the board today, but it is National Brownie Day, so that's something to look forward to. Hey, real quick, while I got you here, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. That way you can stay up to date on all of our live shows and our individual news stories. And let's go into the last block of news for today. Paramount has made a direct all-cash offer to Warner Bros. Discovery shareholders after WBD chose Netflix's proposal last week. CEO David Ellison argues Paramount's bid is superior, saying it offers $17.6 billion more cash than Netflix's deal. Paramount offered $30 per share for the entire company, while Netflix offered $27.75 per share for Warner Brothers and HBO, but believes later spin-offs of cable assets like CNN will add value. WBD's board initially favored Netflix, expecting greater long-term returns if cable assets are separated, CNN has reported. The new bid has sparked expectations of a bidding war, boosting WBD and Paramount stock while Netflix's shares dropped. The Department of the Air Force has approved SpaceX's plan to convert the former Delta IV launch site, SLC-37, at Cape Canaveral into a Starship launch complex. The approval followed completion of an environmental impact statement, which found no major environmental concerns aside from significant noise and overpressure during launches and landings. An early plan to build an additional Starship site, SLC-50, was dropped due to archaeological and endangered species concerns. SpaceX intends to construct 2 Starship pads at SLC-37, joining pads in Texas and 1 at Kennedy Space Center, Space News has reported. Construction has begun, although SpaceX has not yet revealed a timeline for completion or the first launch. Tensions have risen between President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky after President Trump criticized the Ukrainian president for not yet reading U.S. peace proposals. President Trump claimed Ukrainian officials support the plan, while suggesting Russia might also accept it. His comments followed Miami talks between U.S. and Ukrainian teams that ended without agreement on a draft peace deal. Outstanding issues include the status of Russian-occupied Donbass and control of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, CNBC has reported. Zelensky described the talks as, quote, constructive but not easy, and said he would review details face-to-face with his negotiators. A stabbing on a Charlotte commuter train has sparked renewed attention from President Donald Trump during his administration's immigration enforcement push. Police say 33-year-old Oscar Soloronzo, an undocumented immigrant previously deported twice, stabbed another passenger following an argument, leaving the victim in critical condition. Trump reacted on Truth Social, blaming local Democratic leadership for rising violence, while officials emphasized the incident was not random. The case follows a separate fatal train stabbing in August that led to North Carolina lawmakers pass Irina's Law, targeting bail rules and requiring more mental health evaluations, CBS News has reported. Despite local opposition and declining crime rates, federal authorities recently targeted Charlotte for arrest, though documents show fewer than one-third of those detained had prior criminal records. Okay, everybody, that is our show for today. I hope everyone has enjoyed it. I hope you all had a great weekend. I hope everybody tries to stay warm. I will see everyone tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time for another episode of The News with BC, and I hope everybody has a great rest of your day.